Hi, welcome. My name is Michael Madden. I'm the founder and CEO of the Broadcasters and Sportscasters Mentoring Group. And today I'm being joined by Bruce Gilbert. Bruce is the Senior Vice President of Sports for Cumulus and Westwood One. I asked Bruce to come on basically because of his vast experience in the industry. If you don't know Bruce, he's somebody that's been described to me as a person who has probably forgotten more about radio than most of us will ever know. And I know he's way too humble to admit that, but that's just the fact about him. A little bit about Bruce's bio. He was the Senior Vice President of Sports Operations for iHeartMedia, the Vice President of News, Talk, and Sports for CBS Radio in Dallas, the CEO of Red Zebra Broadcasting, which was the Washington Redskin radio network along the Eastern Seaboard. And he was also the General Manager at ESPN Radio. And today we're going to just keep it brief and short and concise, but I wanted Bruce's insight into a couple of key questions that we're going to be asking him. One about the need to develop broadcasting skills, since most of the people that this is going to be for are those who are on the outside of the broadcasting industry looking to get in, and they really don't know the importance and the value of some of the things we're going to touch on, such as the need to develop broadcasting skills, the value of having a mentor, also the importance of cultivating relationship with industry context. You know, the old saying, it's not just what you know, but who you know. And also the question that I love asking people all the time that are experts in their industry is, and this is one we'll keep for the end. If a relative came to you and said, Uncle Bruce, I want to get into broadcasting, but I don't want to use your contacts. I want to be able to figure this out on my own. I want to know what your greatest tip, your greatest advice would be to help me get my foot in the door. So stay tuned to that, because he's going to give you an insight that perhaps is going to be actionable for you as well. Before I get to the questions, though, I want to one thing about Bruce. He was credited for discovering Colin Cowherd back in the early 2000s. And he had once told me that, to paraphrase it, that he felt that it was a career-defining move, or perhaps a career-jeopardizing move. They were looking for their next national talk show host. And Colin at the time was, I believe, working out of Portland, a small station up there. Nobody had really known about him. And Bruce decided that he was the guy. So Bruce, welcome. But tell me, what was it about Colin Cowherd that made you believe that this is the guy?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to see you, Michael. That was a really unique time at ESPN. Tony Kornheiser was leaving. We had to replace Tony. And ESPN, this was the early 2000s, was a place where there were a lot of really big names. And there were a lot of really big names that hadn't joined yet that wanted to be at ESPN. And there was a culture inside the building where it was sort of expected you to find the next big name. And when I say find the next big name, really find someone that everybody had already heard of. And that was why I thought it was career jeopardizing, because nobody had heard of Colin Cowherd. And, we talked to people like, Bob Costas and many great writers across the country that people knew, some terrific people that were well qualified. But Colin, who had been discovered by the people in Portland, was doing, morning radio and nighttime television in Portland. And the reason why, back to your question, is because I flew Colin. First, I listened to him and I thought he was unique and different, and he could do a show by himself, which is difficult. Then we flew him to Bristol, and his interview wasn't an interview. He basically did a show. I asked him one question and he did a 15-minute monologue and then spun it into how he would take calls. And I was so wildly entertained that I thought, this is a can't miss. I mean, if he can entertain me like that and take over the room, what can he do if he has an audience every day? So he earned it through his special talent and his ability to really dominate the conversation and look at things through a different lens and make you think about things differently. I was just lucky enough to have him come into my world and was able to do probably a pretty special sales job with the folks at ESPN on because they first said to me, what the heck is a Colin Cowherd? And is that really somebody's name? And it is his actual real name. But look, I've swung and missed on a lot of people I've hired that didn't work out. He's one that did. And I'm really proud of it. And I'm proud of his success, and he's earned it. He's a hard worker and a really unique and special and smart guy. So I'm really happy for him. He deserves it.
I think it's safe to say that Colin remained Colin. He was just himself, which was sufficient for you. Is that fair to say?
That's very fair to say. And I think it epitomizes what brings success in this industry is you can fake it for a little while. You can try to be somebody you're not, and you might get away with it. You might even be really successful, but eventually you're going to get exposed, because this is a medium, particularly the audio medium, but any sports media, where people sniff out phonies, and they can tell if you're authentic or not. And to your point, Colin has always been true to himself. Even when he stumbled and made some mistakes, he's owned up to them. He's just, he is who he is, off the air, on the air. And that's why I believe he's had such great success, along with obviously, a unique and entertaining personality that is incredible.
Okay, let's get to it. All right, a person looking to break into the industry, talk about what is the need, how important is the need to develop broadcasting skills if they want to be on air?
So it's really interesting, Michael. I think, first of all, it's critical. The answer to your question is it's absolutely critical. But what's interesting is the barrier to being able to do the things that you need to be able to do consistently, effectively as a broadcaster, the barrier to doing those is lower than ever. Anybody with an iPhone can be a broadcaster now. You don't have to have $1 million studio that you go to. But the fact is, you've got to just start exercising those muscles. If you want to be a pitcher, you got to have a throwing program. If you want to be a quarterback, you need to work out with some receivers. If you want to be a media personality, you've got to be able to form your opinions, exercise the opportunity to express those opinions in a way that is engaging and entertaining and informative and makes people want to listen to you. So it's absolutely critical that you learn those skills, and you learn the ability to do them effectively and consistently every day. And so what I tell people that want to do this is just start doing it. What's stopping you? Even if you're just talking into a mirror every day, but you can talk into your phone, listen to yourself, pay attention to how you sound. And then by recording yourself each and every day, whether it's doing a podcast or just doing it to practice, you have actual samples that you can start sharing with people. It could just be your friends and your relatives at first, but then it becomes people that work in the media. And as you start to do that, then you start to form a network, because a couple of people get back to you and say, hey, I like this, but I didn't like that. You should work on this. You should try to hone that skill. And so to your question, it's vital to learn, but it's also more important to do. Nothing replaces reps. You've just got to start doing it if it's what you want to do.
And it's been said that, practice makes perfect. But when I was coaching basketball, I kind of changed that. And I said that practice, if you're practicing the wrong thing, it's not going to improve you. But perfect practice makes perfect. So what are a few broadcasting skills that you would suggest a person need to master, like, topic development and interviewing, those types of skills?
Yeah, I think I think there's so many, and you can get really intricate in the weeds, but sticking to the treetops, it's like, do you have an interesting perspective? Are you someone that is authoritative enough that people will stop and pay attention to what you have to say? But more important than what you have to say and how you say it and your ability to form your opinions is, are you wildly curious? Are you constantly wanting to know more about everything you consume? It's curiosity that drives the greats in our business. It's not their ability to say things or even how they say them. It's their ability to ingest and digest information. And then once they have all that information, how to creatively convey it to an audience. And we've talked about it many times, Michael. The topic tree has been talked about. I sort of learned it from Rick Scott and have taken it. Rick was a great sports radio consultant. We homed it together and sort of took it out there. And it's like, everybody knows the topics. Everybody knows what people are talking about. It's what you do with the topics that sets you apart and ultimately makes you successful or not successful. So once you have all that information, what do you really think about it? How does it make you feel? What's your emotional reaction to it? And then how do you convey those feelings in a way that is entertaining and engaging and informative and opinionated? And until you're confident in your ability to take the information that you ingest and share it with people in a way that makes you formidable as a storyteller and as an opinion maker, that takes time. It's 10,000 hours. It's time in the cockpit, but you first have to be able to learn how to curiously understand all angles of a story, all angles of what you want to talk about. And you have to live a life that is interesting enough for people to relate to.
Outstanding. I asked you to come on to answer a few questions, and I'm getting a master class on show hosting here. So thank you for that. No, not sorry at all. This is even better than I had hoped for. Bruce, talk about what is the value in your mind of having a mentor?
Well, there's so much value. I think first and foremost, the greatest thing about having a mentor is you need to have someone that's going to tell you the truth, and if you have that person, you have nowhere to go but up. Because if someone's able to be honest with you and tell you the things that you do well and help you, help you tune those things to an even greater extent, it's like a security blanket. It's like an insurance policy. It's like, I think this is pretty good, but I really want my mentor to hear it and tell me if it is pretty good. And if they don't think it is, then I'll learn from that. If they do think it is, I'll know I need to do more of that. So it's that shoulder to lean on. It's that opinion that you trust. It's that knowledge that someone's going to really try to lift you up and help you succeed. And so I think it's vital. And I think that it creates a dialogue that's critical in order to be able to grow. Because again, if you can't ask someone questions, if you can't be curious about what people think about you, you're never going to really know if you're doing the right thing.
Thank you. That's expresses my sentiments as well. Okay, finally, so the importance of cultivating relationship with those in the business. The old saying, it's not just what you know, but who you know, and more importantly, who knows you. What has your experience been in terms of the importance of having a network?
It's invaluable. We all run into points, whether we're early in our careers, late in our careers, middle of our careers, where we're just stuck, and you really aren't sure where to go next. And it's always refreshing to run into some of your peers at a conference or pick up the telephone and talk to them. And you're always quickly reminded that you're not the only one that's battling some of the things that you're battling, right? You think, oh, woe is me. I'm in this rut. I'm dealing with this situation. Why is this happening to me? And then you find out you're being ridiculously selfish because it's similar for many, many other people. And then when you get a chance to talk with those people about what they've done when they've been in that situation, you go, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I might try that path. I might do this. The hard part about building a network is it's not easy. People are busy. A lot of people are going to ignore you. You're not going to get a response if you reach out to every person's not going to respond. But don't stop, because the one that does will become someone that you can count on for years and years and years. At least that's been my experience. If you treat them right and you respect their time and you only engage with them when it's really important to you and you know that you can help each other, those relationships end up being lifelong relationships. But you got to understand that a lot of people won't respond. They're too busy to respond. They can't take on something else at this time. Don't hold it against them. It's the reality. But if you keep pushing, and that's why it's so important to do the basics, do the work, show up every day, share that work with people. Eventually, people will start to realize, wow, this person's serious. I want to help them. And that network starts to grow and you start to get more and better feedback. And that's when magic can really start to happen for you in your career.
Completely agree. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to deliver. You taught me not only the art of the tease, but the importance of delivering on the tease. So the final question right now. Your nephew comes to you and says, Uncle Bruce, I'd like to get into the broadcasting industry, but I want to do this my way without you making a phone call and opening the door for me. What is some of your best advice, your top few tips for your nephew, for him to navigate his way into this business?
Well, we've touched on almost all of them in the previous questions, right? One,
Right.
start doing the work. If this is what you want to do, then start a podcast immediately. Prove that you have something to say that's unique and different and interesting. So start doing the work. And then once you feel like the work is good enough to share, start sharing it with as many people as you possibly can. And if you want me to tell you some of the people I think you should send it to, I will. If you don't want me to, I'll tell you some of the places that I think are right for you. There's so many different platforms now and so many different places. But I think the most important advice is if this is what you want to do, prove it by starting to do it right now. And every single day, can you do 1 hour every single day? Can you do 2 hours every single day? And can you be proud of what you're doing? And then once you are, put yourself out there. And you're going to get a lot of rejection, as everybody does in every industry. But when it finally does hit with someone, you're going to be able to start figuring out what's the best path for you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate 30 years of experience condensed into about 15 minutes or less. Bruce, thank you.
I love this stuff. I love talking with you, and I love helping people that want to be in this business. It's hard, but boy, is it worth it, and it's fun. So you got to be willing to put in the work. So I appreciate the time. It's always great to talk to you.
No, great. Thanks for joining us, Bruce.